baby.
Oh,
yes!
There's another one there in the teaser.
This is the Sport Fishing Championship.
The Texas International Fishing Tournament is stop number 9 of 10, the 82nd edition of this long-running festival in the south portion of Texas at the Mexico-Texas border. Robbie Floyd with Peter Miller on this second and final day. And on day 2, we saw a lot of catches today, a lot of billfish caught, just like we saw on day number 1, Peter.
That's right, Robbie. I think we're approaching the 100 marlin or billfish mark, and we're not even sure how many other fish were caught that we didn't hear about. So just to know that our boats and the people that we're following have 100 just shows you what a great fishery it is off Padre.
Absolutely. You'll see some consistency there with Team Quantified trying to win the Gulf Division Championship, Sigsbee Deep trying to win this event in whole. Actually, everybody's trying to win this event, but we will crown a champion at the end of this weekend for our Gulf Division, and Quantified looks like they're running away with that. But look at the numbers. Rebecca, we've seen them throughout the year. They've got a white marlin. Now, the white marlin only worth 125 points. If you see that blue marlin pop up, it's worth 350 points. Sailfish, a lot of sails being caught this week.
Well, what you mentioned about Rebecca, only 125, but they're getting a bunch of doubles. I was looking through the stats, and they had a double, another double earlier in the day, another double at another period in time. So, you know, they're capitalizing on their bites and making those fish count.
Mechanical Man, Captain Ray Dunn, I believe they won the Lone Star Shootout a couple of years ago. There's a release of blue marlin by Instigator Sashimi. There's a lot of sashimi happening this week in Texas. We knew there would be a lot of variety, and we're just looking at our SFC side of things. I mean, these are our billfish being caught. There's championship fish being caught. There's actually inshore fish being caught that they've been weighing in these 2 days. Yeah,
I'm told there's sometimes up to 500 boats in this event. Some are billfish, and a lot of them are inshore, and they're having a ball. It's a very family-friendly event. They've got a lot of young kids catching their first fish ever, and then they'll graduate to that billfish degree.
We tie in the best tournaments from around the country to bring you one champion. We will crown one champion and award $1 million in a couple of weeks' time in Puerto Rico. What makes this facility, this fishery so special? I know it's a confluence of a lot of things. I mean, these anglers have been looking at the Hilton Real-Time Navigator, looking at currents, and I think that's a big key, as well as the shelf not too far offshore.
Yeah, well, Robbie, you can see these loop currents that come up from the south, and they create eddies, and they create circular patterns, which are these eddies, and then they roll back around, and sometimes they reverse and vibe off each other, creating this confluence of baits and a confluence of warmer waters meeting colder waters, and that's where that biomass is going to be. Thus, the fish are going to be there.
You see the general current, that Gulf Stream that we talked about, coming up from the bottom of the screen, up around the Yucatan Peninsula, all the way through the Gulf, and then it works its way up north. We saw the same Gulf current when we were at Martha's Vineyard a couple of weeks ago. That shows you how far it moves.
Robbie, it started from the bottom, now they're here, and that's exactly what we're trying to get at. The fish are here. They're after 100 fish that we know of, but again, unofficially unofficial, and they're catching the fish. They're doing great, and you saw that current actually tapping into South Padre Island, Texas. You can see it coming in really tight, so it just shows that's why they bite is getting better and better in that area.
You know what you're talking about. That's why you're 3-time World Sailfish Champion Peter Miller. I'm Robbie Floyd. Welcome inside our SFC studios. Some of the names we're looking at: Texas Canyon, Colt 45, Nueces Dome, Perdido Oil Rig. We know rigs, drill ships, they're always prevalent here, but the fishing has been amazing. And all of these catches that we're seeing on here, those are the ones reported. This could be a third of them, Peter. This could be a half. We don't know, but we're thinking this could be our biggest event of the season.
You know, and based on what we're seeing here, we're seeing 3 of the top boats that we know of have close to 34 billfish releases, and we only know of about 95 to 100 releases at this point because we don't have all the stats that have come in from the guys that are coming in now. Fishing has ended. The guys are on the way in. We have a lot of numbers, but again, officially unofficial. So this fishery is on fire. Texas is phenomenal. I can't wait to fish here. I'm really looking forward to getting out there with some of the guys that know what they're doing, and these guys know what they're doing.
Let's bring in our man in the know, Scoops McGee, on site with Site 1, a.k.a. Ronnie Moore. Still good weather conditions. They're starting to come in now. I know some of the inshore guys started coming in yesterday, and even some offshore guys. But, Ronnie, this event's pretty special. I mean, it's awesome, and we don't even know the half of it. That won't be determined probably until late tonight or tomorrow.
100%, Robbie. First, I got to say, started from the bottom, now we're here. Are we really doing this, Peter, today? We're starting out the show that way. I had to rag on you for that, but yes, it's getting to be a party around here. Like you had previously mentioned, South Padre Island it is fantastic fishing community. They came here, and they have been sitting here through the entire Bay Division. All of the redfish, the snook, the flounder, so many other species in play for those different tournaments, sharks even. Now we're going to the offshore portion. Some of these teams are going to be coming in. Almost all of the teams will need to come in, even if they don't have a weigh fish. We'll also see those meat fish categories, the championship division fish, the yellowfin tuna by Invincible Boats, the wahoo and the mahi-mahi. There's a lot happening here at South Point Marina in Port Isabel.
Yeah, it's TIFT event, and it is not only an event, it is a spectacle. And you can see this is live as we're looking at the crowd as they will bring in some of these fish that they'll be weighing in. Redfish, ling, as Ronnie said, sharks. I mean, this is happening, Peter. This is awesome.
They've got flounder. I've seen snook. They've got speckled trout. They've got a whole host of inshore species that they're targeting. And when you see an event with the tents and people sitting under these tents and hanging out and watching the spectacle of these weighed fish and these young kids and families and moms and dads, it just becomes, it's kind of like a really warm atmosphere with a lot of fish being caught, the fanfare, parties, like you said, started from the bottom, now we're here. If it wasn't for my little one-liners, I don't know where I'd be, Ronnie, so thank God for those.
Well, like you guys said, this is kind of three words. I asked the TIFT hostess, which is a tradition. The 82nd TIFT hostess, Caroline Miller, said earlier in the week, I said three words, and she said fishing, family, and tradition. And that is what the 82nd TIFT tournament is all about. We see the families here. We talked about Mechanical Man, one of our teams in the offshore division that we're covering this week. One of the boys on board caught his first tag and release sailfish this week. First billfish in general. Very cool to see that. We know Jacelyn Berthelot, along with Rising Suns, has been an angler since she was 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. Now she's 20 years old. It is a family sport, and this is a family event. I'm telling you guys, this is only getting started. I know the fishing's done now, but I cannot wait to see these 81 teams pull up here. And when we start to crown a Gulf champion, when we start to finalize the TIFT results later this evening, it's going to be wild because this is a tournament you want to win.
Hey, thanks a lot, Ronnie. Let's take a look at the Gulf Division as it stands right now. And Quantified's been on top, and they mentioned some first-time catches. I mean, we saw 12-year-old Tucker Wade, Ashley Wade catching fish. Hope to see them next year and back again. But this Gulf Division, very, very strong. Quantified has been the strongest of the bunch. They take the best three finishes for the Gulf, and their worst is, what, 7th place? I mean, that's getting it done.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Quantified's got a first, and a 7th. They can drop that 7th, and look, you know, they're going to be close to the top of the leaderboard. We don't know where they're going to wind up, but they've done extremely well with 3 blue marlin, once again catching a wide variety of fish. They got their blue, their white, and their sailfish bites, and the bite is on fire for them. They're the most consistent team that we have seen in the Gulf Division.
Well, let's take a look as our Garmin team spotter has Quantified out there near that shelf and take a look at some of their catches. This is a team who, this is their home base, South Padre Island. We heard when we were in Martha's Vineyard that at that tournament that week they had 17 billfish. I don't think they're going to hit that number, but it just shows you how good they are.
Oh, yeah, they're on fire. And when you're in your own backyard, you just got to win. I know some of the bass guys, they'll fish in their own backyard, and when they lose, it's a heartbreaker. But it's so nice to see guys that are living in that area. They've grown up there, they fish out of there, and then they could possibly win it out of there.
When I talk to some of the bass fishing guys, again, these are different worlds. I mean, a totally different thing. It's actually harder. If it's your backyard, you know too many things. You go off of past history.
Overthinking it.
And how many times have you done that in your history? You're like, I've been here. I know where they were.
That's right.
That doesn't mean they're there now.
Exactly. So, you know, it's everything is a gamble, but it has to be a calculated gamble, a calculated risk. You've got to put together that game plan. Your quarterback, your captain has to make the calls, and then they have to kind of talk about it. They have to say, we're going right, we're going left, we're going to pick up with a blue marlin, run out to the sailfish grounds, and move around and try to just rack and stack those points. He's got a sail on the leader right there. He's going to pop him off. That fish swims away, hook rusts out. Catch them another day.
Get out there and do it again. They caught 4 sailfish unofficially, 1 white marlin, 3 blue marlin. That's key. The more blue marlin you catch, those are max points, and it looks like they may catch more than anybody unofficially as it stands right now. But that's getting it done. Quantified, a 64-foot Spencer out of South Padre Island, Captain Justin Drummond. Let's talk about him for a second. Justin, we didn't realize until today who Justin Drummond was. You knew him as a different name back in the day, didn't you?
I knew him back in the 90s. We knew each other, and his name was Tex. That's all I knew. He fished on a boat called the LNH with a good friend of mine, Roy Huff, and the team with the Dudas family. And, it was kind of in passing, and we hung out a little bit and traded stories. But then I find out Tex. Okay, Justin Drummond. Wait, Justin Drummond is Tex. He's running the quantified. They're the ones catching the fish. And that's when you know these guys have fished all over the world. I mean, obviously we're talking about the Southeast, we're talking about the Gulf, but these guys have fished the entire planet, probably Madeira. They've fished all over South and Central America, St. Thomas, they've done it all, so they're well versed in all these species, and it's obvious because they're catching all the species and they're catching a lot of them.
And, the commissioner, Mark Neifeld, I got to speak with him a couple of weeks ago, very passionate about the sport, but I'm starting to see all these reports coming in from different parts of the world. Near world record, blue marlin caught off the Cape of Africa. I mean, Brazil, you see big numbers. This sport seems to be getting bigger and stronger. Everybody wants to be a piece of it. And catching your first billfish, you remember your first, right?
I sure do. I was 10 years old. I was out of Miami Beach, and I remember catching it, and I never looked up to see this fish jump. All I wanted to do was reel it in.
Garmin team spotter. Who are we moving to now? Let's take a look at Rebecca, one of our top 10 teams in the Sport Fishing Championship Gulf Division, as well as the overall. They've had a pretty strong week so far. Unofficially, we have them on third, and we say that because not all of the teams are reported. They had to stop fishing about an hour or so ago, and they're working their way back to the dock right now. Let's take a look at Rebecca.
I want to take a look at Rebecca, and I want to talk about John Ramming, okay? That's John Ramming, and he is a spitting image of a great friend of mine named John Dudas, who was a pioneer in fishing in Miami. This is a younger, better-looking version, no offense, Dudas, but this guy, John Ramming, he's the owner of the boat on Team Rebecca, and they're catching a lot of fish. I think they're up to 11 right now.
Talented anglers either way. So you had the John right, just not the right last name.
That's right. Boy, do they look alike. I'm going to have to put a picture-in-picture and do this to get tomorrow. I'll bring it tomorrow.
I think Dudas is out hunting right now.
He sure is.
I like those Rebecca shirts, and they're showing how to get it done. You mentioned the numbers of fish that they've caught. 11 billfish, unofficially 6 white marlin, no blues, and 5 sailfish. The blues, what they're missing. They needed that big number of fish.
That's right. 3 whites is a little more than a blue marlin, and 5 sailfish is slightly more than a blue marlin. So you got to catch a lot of fish to equal that one price or point precious blue marlin. But right now, it looks like they're working on a nice fish, lighter tackle. And
what does that say? I mean, when you see somebody with a light tackle, I mean, it's generally not by accident.
You're generally pitching a bait with a proper size tackle that is rated for that fish with that bait. If you do have the opportunity, if you see a 125-pounder blue marlin coming to the spread, you're going to go with a lighter outfit, maybe a smaller bait, maybe a lighter leader. You see a slob come in, you see a big mama come in on the teaser, 400 or 500-pounder, a big, as you say. You want to get the big guns. You want to have, a 50. You want to have maybe 300-pound leader, 250. 300-pound leader, because they will chafe through that light leader that they're using right there.
We saw that today in our morning show on sportfishingchampionship.com, where somebody had a fish on and it popped off. And oftentimes, if you're a bass fisher, one thing, you can have a bad knot, but that chafing is real.
It really, when it comes in and it goes into the tip of the rod, or something hits it on the way, as it's going by, and people are kind of, hitting the top of the salon cabin, you could definitely break the line. You could put a little nick in it, and that's all it takes to lose a fish. It seemed like it might have been a mahi that she had pop off there. Who knows? But they'll be all right. They'll survive.
Okay, well, I can't hear you. Pull her forward. What he's trying to tell you.
They're trying to, that fish looks very active, trying to make sure if they do or don't. If it's a lure, if it's an artificial lure, they usually get their lure back. If it's a live bait fish, they leave that hook in there and then we'll cut it. They're taking their time, though, making sure this fish is doing well.
You always want to revive those fish. When they get a little brown like that on the side, you want to get a little oxygen going through their gills, so you want to be able to, get over the side and keep their mouth in the water. You have to keep their mouth in the water, and once they're ready, you just push them away from the boat.
The Sport Fishing Championship and our rules, everything is catch and release. They are doing just that as soon as they make contact with that leader at times. That leader comes through the rod tip. It is a qualified catch at that point. And there they go, releasing that fish to be caught another day by you, me, or one of the fans watching right now. But they do occasionally bring in fish on the local tournament side. If it's an overfish, over a certain standard, that's how we partner with these individual tournaments. They have their rules, we have ours, but man, 97% release rate. It's unbelievable.
And that's why there's so many fish out there, Robbie. That's why it's such a great fishery, and it's a $130 billion industry. Sport fishing right there.
Pura Vida coming in right now. This is a live look. Captain Marco Castellanos. We saw Christy and Marco with fish on. Christy, and you see what they have. Now, tell me about the flags and what does that signify for these guys as they make their way in. I think I see a mahi-mahi on board.
You sure do. It's so nice they named it twice. That is a yellow flag depicting a mahi, just like you said. They've got tuna flags. They've got white marlin, blue marlin, swordfish, spearfish, swordfish, you name them. I've got them all on the boat. And when you're in Miami, sometimes you got to hold up 35 to 40 flags on a single day.
Raise that flag proud. We will be crowning a champion for the Gulf Division this weekend, and we're still searching for our $1 million winner in a couple of weeks in San Juan, Puerto Rico. They're making their way back to the dock. We're going to check in on Coco, Captain Mark Hubbard out of Port Aransas to see what they were up to this week. Again, it's the Sport Fishing Championship from South Padre.
SFC coverage of the Texas International Fishing Tournament is sponsored by Seaholm Watches, by Smith Optics, and by Fish Razor.
Whether you like to ride the wind, find your secret cove, or reel them in, plot your paradise with GPS Map Series from Garmin.
Sport fishing anglers from around the world competing for $1 million. The Sport Fishing Championship on CBS Sports Network.
Remember, everything begins in the morning. Every story told is a fisherman's tale. We build watches tough enough to be a part of that tale. The perfect balance of beauty and brawn. We are Seaholm. Watches that last a lifetime. Seaholm Automatic, the official timepiece of the Sport Fishing Championship.
See it, live it, love it. The largest in-water boat show in the world, the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show. More than 3 million square feet, fishing boats to super yachts, engines, accessories, learning experiences, and culinary delights. Save the dates, October 26th through 30th. Details at flibs.com.
It all comes back to the water, this binding agent, this fluid history of connection, past, present, and future, all tied together through this never-ending, unwavering force. We belong to a community of seekers, anglers, and everyone in between. For us, it's more than fishing, much more. It's who we are, who we were, and who we aspire to be. We are Smith.
A day out on the water could go great. Or it could have a few minor setbacks. Things could get rough. Or you could lose that $900 smartphone. Whatever the problem, Yugo provides unmatched premium protection for any water sports adventure. Yugo. To get yours, visit YugoWear.com or simply scan the QR code on the screen. And remember, just add water.
Some call it joie de vivre, the joy of life. In Louisiana, it's our way of life. From music that shakes up your senses to food that wakes up your palate. That joy vibrates in every note we play and spices up every meal we serve. So come live life to the fullest. Come one, come y'all, come feed your soul in Louisiana. I'm Sean Ardway, inviting you to plan your trip at louisianatravel.com.
SFC coverage of the Texas International Fishing Tournament is sponsored by Sword Fishing Products, by Vineyard Wind, and by Yugo.
South Padre Island is not only a perfect family-friendly first-class beach destination, it's a first-class fishing destination. Miles of beautiful beaches, perfect weather, I tell you, and beautiful dining options. I tell you, to have all these folks in town for TIFT, it's just an amazing experience on the island. You could feel it. So many boats. This event brings over 500 boats to our community. People are coming from all across the country, about 1,500 anglers for TIFT. Just amazing, and they're bringing their families. This is a fun family event. There's plenty to do here on the island, offshore and onshore or in the bay. We're going to revamp our convention center for it's a viable place for large-scale conferences and meetings and sporting events, and we look forward to doing that so we can attract more visitorship. This is just a national platform to showcase our brand, our island. You know, this event generates a significant economic impact to our community. We want more events like this, and we can tell our story to the rest of the world.
I spend my fair share of time in South Padre Island. It is awesome. Great for the families. A friend of mine, Crash Gladys, on the Speed Freaks podcast. I mean, I know they've got a condo down there. As the boat's starting to make their way in now for this second and final day of this TIFT event, the Texas International Fishing Tournament. Excuse me, pardon me, Peter.
Robbie,
I'm all choked up on these billfish.
I'll cover you. They're making their way downtown. So they're trying to get back to the dock. They're going to be weighing some fish in. They're going to be hoisting those flags. The guys are up on the bow getting ready to spray the boats down. You know, fresh water. You got to clean it off, chamois it off, get the boat nice and pretty at that dock slip.
Port Isabel, the other host there in that Laguna Madre Bay, just right around the corner from the inlet. And they're making their way in now. We're looking at it live. A lot of fans come out to see fish. They're going to get their opportunity. Also, we haven't talked about the format and the rules. These guys have to check in with those cards because it's not official until the officials say it's official.
Catch cards and catch video cards. You know, you're going to have everything filled out, signed, and then you got to turn in your card. You want to put it in a Ziploc bag in case it drops in the water.
Garmin Team Spotter, we follow Team Coco. They're trying to get to be hot cocoa this weekend, but they do things a little bit different on the Coco. I know Mikey Figueroa is the camera boat or the camera operator, and we saw this once before. I mean, that's chocolate milk right out of the refrigerator. They were wanting to be hot cocoa.
Well, that's a Yeti bucket, so that's going to be extra cold.
Extra, yeah. That's tough on the old glass cutters there. It looks like the Gulf was moving around a little bit. They were looking for some good luck whenever they do stuff like that.
That was like a diamond in an ice storm just right there. I don't even know what I'm seeing, but I'll tell you what, he's a hothead. He cooled off. They're looking for a fish. They want to change their luck. That's their goal on Team Coco. You know, you see he's got the cocoa butter tan going and everything's working. But let's see, are they going to catch anything?
Something's on.
It looks like they might have a little tip wrap
it's
there.
It's multiples, too. Actually, one on the right, one on the left. We got a triple?
Okay.
No, we're swinging over on the left. Do we have a triple?
It looks like a triple zipple. It looks like they're doing a lot of over-unders, under-overs. Over, this is under, this is over,
What's
done.
the vector, Victor? What is going on? We've got a dance. We have an actual dance. Now, if the fish are rotating over, that's what they're doing, and they're looking at that line as it heads into the water.
They just knitted a sweater. There's going to be a sweater fish that's going to show up behind the boat.
Absolutely would. If that were yarn, they would have half of a turtleneck.
Yeah.
What do we have? Championship fish. Sometimes I make myself giggle. The championship fish is what they're looking at. We have 3 different, or maybe even not. Maybe it's bait. It could be a yellowfin tuna.
That's a little blackfin tuna right there.
And blackfin tuna is part of the local side of things. That could win them money as well.
Yeah, so we were fishing back inshore just about 40 miles off and caught a little tunas and dorado, but no billfish, so we decided to make a move here in the middle of the day. We're out around offshore at Colt 45. There's a rip here, pretty substantial water temperature change. So we're going to see if we can have a little bit better luck here and see what happens.
Hear what he's saying about that confluence of probably currents, a water temperature change. What makes that change? That's from one current over here, one current over there, and it's kind of that difference in between?
It's kind of like when you're swimming in a lake, and all of a sudden you feel that cooler temperature kick in.
Seeing electric reels there as well. Looks like they've got a counter as far as how much line is out there as well. Now, they cannot reel them in with the electric reels. They have to do that all by hand. Let's look at the championship division. We talked about it. There are 3 different categories: the Wahoo, the Wahoo, the Mahi Mahi.
You doubled up on the Wahoo, but you got the Mahi Mahi right. But then you got
I looked at you when I said
the Yellowfin Tuna, the championship presented by Invincible Boats. And boy, that Wahoo was 103 pounds. I'll tell you, Robbie, I've never seen one that big. I've been fishing my whole life. I've heard of them. I've seen them on Instagram, but I've never seen one in person. I got to see this one in person.
This would be considered a toad, right? This is a big.
Yeah, this is a slop, a Ruski.
Again, everybody says Wahoo when you catch one of those. And what's your Mahi line? Because this is a 40-pounder, and we may have one come in today that is 40 or better. This could be a $50,000 prize to either this gentleman, Mr. DePaloa, or maybe somebody here at the TIFT event or in Puerto Rico.
Well, you're definitely going to want a bull dolphin. They're going to be the bigger of the bunch, and hopefully whoever caught one today has one that's slightly bigger. If not, he's going to win that $50,000. But this is the fish that everyone's talking about by second winner Drew Phillips. This is a 206-pound, 9-ounce. Don't forget the ounces.
Yeah,
sometimes they count.
Makes a difference.
That's right. And he caught that out of where? Biloxi, right?
Yeah, Biloxi, Mississippi, 206.9. The Yellowfin Tuna Championship fish by Invincible Boats. The biggest they've ever caught. That thing is huge. That's bigger than me. I mean, I'm on a diet now, so I can say that. But
That's my exact weight right there, Robbie.
Is it?
I jumped on the scale a little while ago, and I'm 206 right there. I don't know about that 9 ounces, but it was 206 on the mark.
We'll go have a steak after this is over with. When a boy becomes a man, I'm kind of curious about this. Is this our first billfish catch by this young gentleman coming up? We're going to see it on the Sport Fishing Championship. A lot of stories to be told this weekend at the TIFT event.
The Guy Harvey Ocean Foundation is honored to be the official charity of the Sports Fishing Championship. Through this partnership and the support of donors like you, future generations will enjoy and benefit from a naturally balanced ocean ecosystem. Our education programs, both in the classroom and online, bring to life the work needed to make sure we have clean oceans for decades to come. Join us today at www.ghof.org.
Sometimes saying no can be really difficult. It's hard to set boundaries, to give yourself space and time. Hop water means never having to choose between having fun or missing out. A sparkling hop water full of flavor and packed with mood-boosting benefits that's non-alcoholic with no calories, no carbs, and no sugar. So go out there and get up to no good.
When you're serious, you are as excited to wake up for a 4 a.m. fishing trip as you were when you were a kid. It means winning 3 World Sailfish Championships. It means you know what you need and what you don't. Being serious means seeking out the ultimate fishing machine, which is what Peter Miller has found in the unmatched handling, speed, and comfort of an Invincible.
It's the simple things, like spending a day at the beach, splashing in the water, playing in the sand, and creating sandcastle masterpieces. Rediscover fun and family on the beautiful white sand beaches of Gulf Shores and Orange Beach.
Sport fishing anglers from around the world competing for $1 million. The Sport Fishing Championship on CBS Sports Network.
So, you want this, but you can't have it without this, or this, or this. Until now, introducing a new way to travel, intranationally. Get all that international charm without ever leaving the country. Right here in St. Augustine, Ponte Vedra. Get all that culture, all the cuisine from that culture. You're welcome. All the gram-worthy sites from that hashtag culture. It's right here at home. St. Augustine, Ponte Vedra. Travel intranationally.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. Talk to doctor now and share it.
Get it, slip it, cuff it, check it. High blood pressure silently affects millions of Americans. Staying on top of your blood pressure is as simple as these 4 easy steps. Self-monitoring is power. Visit manageyourbp.org to learn more.
When it comes to performance, comfort, and functionality, we've got you covered. Performance apparel designed by anglers to make your time on the water better than ever. Salt Life, the official apparel sponsor of the Sport Fishing Championship.
SFC coverage of the Texas International Fishing Tournament is sponsored by Invincible Boats, by Cypress Cove Marina, and by Salt Life.
My name is Gary Glick, and I'm with Friends of RGV Reef, and we're here to chat about RGV Reef on SFC. RGV Reef is called that because it's in the Rio Grande Valley, and it's an area-wide joining of industry, conservation groups, governmental entities to build the first industrial-scale nursery reef in the world, and we have done so. RGV Reef is 1,650 acres, which is just a tad shy of 3 square miles. That's about the size of an 8,000-person village. It's exactly the same size as South Padre Island, the developed part of South Padre Island, and it runs from 6.5 miles offshore to 8.5 miles offshore. It's just barely inside state waters, which was important to us. This area has the densest population of juvenile red snapper in the entire Gulf of Mexico, and we didn't know it. And so as we were going through the permitting process, we shifted from we were going to build a monoculture of relatively high relief structures. We instantly switched to building low relief, complex reef, where these little fish would have a corner to dodge around, or better yet, a crevice to get into, or a place to get behind a rock and turn their food into body weight, because they're not having to fight this unceasing current that sweeps this basically desert-like mud bottom. Of course, if you're going to grow fish, they need multiple heights and sizes and multiple size crevices. Crevices are really important for reef fish. If you're a bill fisherman or care about tuna fish, you got to care about groceries, which means forage fish. What reef structures do is they also provide those graduated stepping stones of habitat that help all those glass minnows that live in the surf zone that we see being eaten by kingfish and Spanish mackerel grow into the menhaden and Spanish sardines and move offshore. And they do just like red snapper or all the other reef type fish, is they need graduated stepping stones of habitat to move offshore and become the forage fish that feed the fish that we want to catch. That generated our very first deployment, which put down 3,700 tons of recycled concrete and got RGV Reef started. RGV Reef's got 72 million pounds of recycled concrete in it. That's 2.5, maybe 3 times the amount of concrete that is in all the rest of the Texas artificial reefs combined. And the way that works is we've got that partnership of governmental entities, quasi-governmental entities, industry, conservation groups, and academia. And, you know, managing that is like balancing a pyramid on its apex. But, man, when you can do it, it's incredibly powerful.
That's awesome, Peter. Rio Grande Valley, the RGV Reef. You saw all those halite bricks being dumped out there. I mean, you think of all the concrete, all the roads have been tore up. They can form them into those blocks. It looks like curbing, whatever that goes down there. These fish live off of that stuff.
That's right. And his description, everything he talked about was so perfectly worded, and it was so succinct and so clear, and it makes you understand the entire structure out there. And that's what it's all about. They need a place to hide.
What an event it's been here for the TIFT event, the Texas International Fishing Tournament from South Padre Island. 81 teams in the offshore side of things fishing the Sport Fishing Championship, and one of those teams is Team Mechanical Man. Now, this is a special moment for this young individual. We got the camera footage from them, from their phone. I don't know who it is, but it's not Ray Dunn, he's the captain. It's either Craig Hale, Ben Hauker, Reed Barker, or Lloyd Bodker. I'm thinking that's a Reed. That looks like a Reed to me.
I'll tell you what, whoever it is probably having the time of his life. He looks super intense, super excited. He's giving it everything he's got. He's in the fighting chair. It's on the leader. They want to see that fish. He wants to see that fish. And this is a big moment for him. A young man catching his first billfish. What a special, congratulations.
First ever billfish for that young man on Mechanical Man, one of our teams. And now it would be a qualified catch when they make contact with that leader. Again, 81 boats took off, and they headed out, and they come back today for this final day. I'm going to look at my final statistics. As we know it, over 90, about 95 billfish caught. That is incredible. And it's only half of the story, maybe half of the story, because all these boats have to come in and report. They're not obligated to tell us what they've caught throughout the day. These are the teams we know about.
That's right. There's been a lot of fish caught in this tournament, and to see that young man catch that fish at the end of this segment, it just kind of warms your heart, and we're absolutely stoked. So congratulations on that billfish, on that 100 number billfish, and the three teams up on the top, they have 34 of those 100 fish that we know of right now. So the three teams are really crushing it.
6B Deep, Quantified, and Rebecca, those three teams you're talking about. Let's go on site with Site 1, the men on the mission. Ronnie Moore, it's our final time to talk to you before they take care of all their duties and all the official stuff is happening. Ronnie, sights and sounds and things to do. I've been to Padre quite often. At least they had some good food while you're there in Padre.
Oh, exactly. Every single Gulf stop that we go to, I mean, food is on. That's the first thing I think about when I land. And the second is how many billfish are going to be caught this week. Neither have disappointed. And you can see behind me all these different boats that are pulled down or anchored down across the canal, waiting to see. Not only are they going to see a weigh-in time for some of these teams or a crowning of champions, they're going to see a boat show. Some of the best boats in the Gulf, the biggest, the most expensive, the coolest designs are all going to come through this shipping canal very shortly to make some of this basically official. And it's just been a great week. We mentioned it earlier about the family, the fishing, and the tradition here at the TIFT tournament. I was talking to someone earlier when they were talking about, this is amazing how many people have came here just to sit and watch for hours on end. And I said, once you love fishing, I don't know many people that hate fishing, but the ones who are indifferent and they learn about this sport and they start to love it, they're hooked for life. And just like that young man on Mechanical Man, I know he's hooked for life.
Absolutely.
You know, Ronnie, that's so perfect what you just said, because this includes everybody. This tournament has a little bit of something for everyone. You can catch a flounder this big, or you can catch a marlin this big, which just went off screen, but this big, giant. So that's what it's all about. And to have people sitting there relaxing and enjoying the day, beautiful weather,
the passion's
a lot of
real.
boats, the passion is real. That's obvious. Everyone's passionate about this. You can be the guy kicking back having a frosty beverage, or you could be the guy sitting in the chair catching a 500-pound blue marlin. You have that spectrum, and that's awesome.
Well, I know that in the fishing aspect, doesn't matter if it's freshwater, saltwater, whatever species it is, I am one of those products. I sat in the stands of a tournament and watched people weigh in fish. Didn't even get to go fishing that week. I just watched people fish, and I was hooked for life, and that's what's got me to this point in the industry. It's very cool to see young kids, families really set out, and this is a part of their week. This is a part of their vacation plans. And guys, the action out there didn't disappoint. What they're going to see today, some of their favorite teams, the boats that they hear of in this region. We're going to have 3 Texas teams at the top of the leaderboard. Like you guys mentioned, a third of the billfish that have been tagged and released come from the top 3, and it's going to be a heated race. Not only is it close in our SFC race, which I want to clarify is different point structure than the specific TIFT tournament point structure, it's still tight either way you look at it. In the TIFT point structure, they put a value of 1,000 points on a blue marlin. We put 350. They up the value of the sailfish to 200, and I think they upped the value of white marlin to over 250. So when you add all those up, it's still less than 100 points between Sigsbee Deep and Quantified. So, hey, first, second, or third is good, but, man, somebody's going to be disappointed when they come just shy of winning the 82nd annual TIFT tournament.
We partner with these tournaments and teams, and there were 81 boats that went out there, and there was really only a few that had a chance at the Gulf Championship, which will be determined. Well, it's already determined. We just don't know officially who it is, and we think it's Quantified. But, Ronnie, these 81 boats were fishing for more than just the SFC Championship. Each one of these boats could have a chance of winning $50,000, and we've yet to see that as well, because those 3 championship fish categories, that's big. If you tell me that you're going to give me $50,000 at the end of the day, you're darn right I'm going to take it.
Tony says the meat is really good on that. I won't say that.
Well, the one awesome aspect, the SFC, when they started this earlier this year and late last year planning for this, one of the best decisions I think that they made was saying that you don't have to fish 3, 4, 5 events to be in that championship division fish category. You can fish your local tournament, join the SFC, sign up for it and register, and boom, one tournament, $50,000, one of those 3 championship division fish categories. And man, now you see that structure, you're excited about it, and now you might jump on for the full slate of Gulf events next season, however it looks with the point structures. But it's been a great week here. I know we're going to crown things and make them official once the show's done tonight, but that CBS show tomorrow, I know there's going to be people who've never fished in the Gulf that are going to see it for the first time, and they're going to be hooked, just like we mentioned, the people who are here in person or actually on the boats for maybe their first time.
They'll want to. Thanks a lot, Ronnie. We'll see you in the morning on sportfishingchampionship.com. I think that's at the 9 o'clock hour on the East Coast. 10 o'clock, we're going to be on CBS Sports Network. Make sure you tune in tomorrow, whether it be by the web or tell all your friends and family, Peter. Everything's officially unofficial. It's about to get good, and we will be certain tomorrow who the winner is in the Gulf Division.
It's going to be very exciting, so you guys are definitely going to want to tune in at 10 a.m. on CBS Sports Network to find out who won it all in the Gulf.
On behalf of Ronnie and Peter, I'm Robbie. We'll see you in the morning.